So have you ever
It's 2020.
Welcome to 2020,
Yep.
and this is the GCM Racing YouTube channel, but I think you already know that.
I hope so.
We like to do something called rig reviews. Rig review is basically where we take a model truck. This is what we're looking at today is Dana's 1976 Chevy Cheyenne Blazer model truck.
Yep.
It's built on a GCM Racing C-Max chassis. The body came from RC four-wheel drive, and with a whole lot of other effort, it turned into this.
Yes, it did.
So today on Rig Review, what we're going to do is actually go over the specifics of the truck with Dana, the builder. Ta-da! And then we'll find out kind of what went into this and what the motivation was and why this was an important build for him. And so that's what Rig Reviews are all about.
Hi.
Hey!
So it's this was built in 2019 for 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez, it all rolls into one. And so we've decided to finally do a rig review on this particular Blazer. There's been a few people out there asking if there is a rig review on the channel, so here we are. We're about to do it.
There's a reason why we do these things. So this truck up here that you can see in the background, that build was commissioned through GCM Racing to do for one of our customers who actually owns that truck in real life.
Mm-hmm.
The full-size version.
Yep.
A beautiful early Bronco. And so sometimes when we do a build, there's some actual real-life inspiration for this, so maybe we should talk about that.
Yeah, and for those who have followed the channel, certainly know the story, and there's a few videos according to this. But just to recap, we went to East Coast Scale Challenge, and of course I got involved in purchasing a one-to-one vehicle just like this one. And since that purchase of the one-to-one, I then replicated it in the 1/10 version. And that's how this came to be, and what a joyful build this was, for sure.
What was your favorite part about doing this?
Realizing I had the real one.
Yeah, that's really cool though. It's kind of like something special. Did you actually go outside to the garage and look at the real one and see what details you had to
Well,
do?
it's funny you say that because the timing was different. I had purchased it at the end of a season for us, so you're looking at September, August when I purchased it. And the gentleman that I purchased from, which was a dealership, I didn't want to transport it back through into Canada and where we are in the depths of winter.
Yeah.
And then we picked it up that spring.
Yeah.
So it was that time period where then I built it. But luckily enough, I didn't have the physical vehicle in my hands, but I had a bunch of reference shots. And so I used that to build it. You know what was really interesting was picking out a color when you have a picture and then the actual paint can was really difficult. And so I went with it, and I actually matched it almost bang on. So I was really happy about that one.
It is a really, really close match.
Yeah. And of course, the RC four-wheel drive body was a really good tie-in for the one-to-one. It matched it perfectly. So I was really happy to have that availability of that body.
The RC four-wheel drive company they're advertising this as a 76 Blazer.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure. There was sort of a few questions as to what it was. There are cues to align it with the 76 Blazer for sure. But yeah, it certainly was a fun build, and then to have the real thing is a bonus.
I don't know what the differences are in the years. Can you kind of tell us why this would be a 76 and not something else? Or did you have to change something to make it into a Cheyenne package?
Sure. A couple things, and again, I'm diving into this particular world, and I'm fairly new, so there's diehards who would know exactly the differences. However, some of the obvious would be the grill work. I think they change it every couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
So this is specific to a few years, including the 76. I think these marker lights were repositioned at one point.
Okay.
This sort of ribbing here, the cowl, the intake for the cowl here, I think for the vents and so on and so forth is slightly different. And I think the wraparound hood, I think they sort of changed that as time went on.
Oh.
There are a few other subtleties that I think have changed, but those would be some of the obvious.
So, does your full-size 76 Blazer have a bow saw in the passenger seat?
No. No, I think that fell out from in behind.
It should be in the back.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be. One of the things that I added to this, which I was really thankful to be able to get, was Giuseppe. He does all of the badge work and the emblem work, and mine specifically is a Cheyenne. So if you'll notice it, I even have the 400 up front. I was lucky enough to get a Cheyenne with a 400cc motor in it. Cubic inch, sorry. So
Nice.
yeah, there's some badging on here, the Cheyenne badging, which was from Giuseppe, which have really sort of set off the vehicle, and again matches what I've done.
Those are beautiful too.
Isn't that nice? Yeah.
Did you have to put the paint in them and all that?
Yeah, I sort of, they come lasered etched, sort of a silver and a black, and then I add a little bit more paint into it just to give it some life to it.
Wow, man, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you. Some of the, a unique little thing I did there is the license plate. If you see, of course I've made it into Ontario's license plate where we are, but it matches the same number scheme as where the vehicle came from. So I did
cool.
that. And of course, Crawler Concepts makes such awesome license plates, so I was really happy to see that.
Yeah, that's great. In case you're wondering about all the names that we're dropping here, and the vendors that sell some of these detail items, all the links will be in the video description. So check down there for all the particulars.
And again, there's so many resources now that we have to be able to create something from one to one and be able to match it in 1/10. So it's really neat to be able to have all of these resources. Of course, we've got a detailed motor in the front of that, which is a 400 in it. And a lot of that was hand fabbed by me.
Wow.
And of course 3D printed. I believe you had a file, a sort of an EFI file that you had printed.
It was a small block Chevy. I found it on Thingiverse, I think, and by a German designer. And then I just home printed the engine block, and then you did something else with that, didn't you?
Well, again, it being an EFI 3D print, of course, this being carbureted with an air breather and a few other changes, I had to then go ahead and make those changes to fit the vehicle. But so there was definitely some heavy modification to the top end of the motor for sure, and then of course some detailing in the engine bay, which is something that I enjoy doing and is a big part of what we do, right, with our scale driveline.
Yeah, opening hood is kind of big over here.
Yeah, and to have a scale driveline in it, really makes it special too, of course.
So, in the engine bay, can you tell me what do you use for paints and supplies and stuff? Like, how do you end up getting this kind of color tones and these sorts of shades and,
this branches from, my years of modeling, especially when I was a kid. Of course, some of the Tamiya paints and the tester paints are available, and those are some of the big techniques that I use when it comes to painting. Real simple. But then there's a bunch of VS custom, little water bottles and windshield washer fluid and so on. And then styrene and just a lot of hand fab. Again, you can get a lot of these items either 3D printed or through styrene or through a few vendors that sell engine bay accessories. So it was a win for me. And then just simple wiring and heat shrink and so on to create what I've done.
like hoses, I guess, and battery cables and stuff like that, right? You have to you just have to find some other kind of thing and repurpose it into a wire, or repurpose it into a rad hose, or
yeah. For us, we have a few sort of big box craft stores, and I used to never go into them, and now I go into them all the time to see what's available. And it's amazing how you can sort of repurpose something for the RC world. So that was sort of how I got most of the detailing done. And of course, it's got a full interior. The nice thing is that this kit, the body kit, comes with a full interior. Now, I think nothing against RC four-wheel drive, but the dimensions and the heights and the geometry of it was a little off. So there's a lot of custom work to make it look right. So a bit of that was going on, and then I think we got 3D printed doors, which I think were from, I'm not sure who printed those, either Ryan Luna or...
Could be.
And then they were just manipulated to fit the 1976 Chevy Blazer, but it's fully detailed and with seat belts and it replicates the interior that's in mine. Hopefully fairly close.
You did chrome trim on the dash. Do you use a chrome pen for that, or how do you actually get that look?
Two things. Chrome pen is certainly for some of the body lines or dash lines, if that's the case. I certainly use that. Another handy tool is duct tape, if I say that correctly, and
like aluminum tape.
Yeah, so actually
foil tape
for duct work and so on and so forth is another item which I use for detailing. But yeah, and it turned out, of course, when you build this, right, and then you actually have the one-to-one, you hope that it looks like it should, and I was thankful that it came out the way it did, and even the rims on this, like these 10-hole Detroits are just, they make the vehicle, and of course the one-to-one was lucky enough to have these with it, so. What a tie-in, right? Like,
yeah.
So it was a fun build, and it was a passionate build, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't know how much trail time it's going to see. I hate to have things sit on the shelf, but this definitely will go to car shows and maybe in some short or tall grass, but it's got to see some trail time eventually.
So, talk to me about the actual RC component of it now, because you've got the modeling side kind of covered, and we talked about the interior, the detail work, the engine bay, but now this is a fully functioning RC model.
Right.
So, how do you turn the modeling side into some kind of properly functioning RC?
Well, the great thing is that the availability of parts and typically from GCM. It's just, we have a C-Max chassis under this, we have a scale drive line, like all the answers are there to create that, and so a lot of the drive line that's in this was in-house. The axles are from Bauhaus, and then what internals are in those ones? I think those are the axial, or
GCM does those.
Oh, is it GCM? I wasn't sure if it was Viterra or GCM. So yeah, it was just from the housings to the internals for the axle to the rails to the scale drive line to, I'm not sure what motor's in it, but yeah, it was all there. It was all in-house, and it was all capable of being able to build it with a lot and many GCM parts.
It's spectacular, to
Thank
be
you.
honest. Yeah, this is a really, really nice build.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it, and of course one of the things that I always do is I like to marry it up with something. So this is its sort of bookend, which is a trailer, and on a trailer is this Javelin, Kyosho Javelin. And so when you pair these two up together, it looks magnificent. Certainly I don't have a desert buggy or anything in the garage one-to-one, but wouldn't that be awesome?
Yet.
No more room.
Oh, come on.
But yeah, so these two are a good tie-in and a nice addition to the build. So this combination is going to go to USTE 2020. as a bit of a showcase. It was there last year, but now I'm going to combine the two.
Nice.
And then this thing I'm going to race at USDE in the vintage buggy class.
Oh, cool.
I've challenged Nick Barber and Dave Krieger to a race with this in the 4-wheel drive class. So that's going to happen. So this is going to get dirty. I don't know if that'll get dirty. I might drive it up and then have it unload and
That's
do all
what you should
realistic.
do, yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the amazing build that this has become, and I'm really happy with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So give us kind of an estimate on time for these things. The reason I ask you that question is because a lot of the time we see these things online, we see them at shows, and we think, well, I might be able to pull that off, and that's a pretty cool idea, or you get some inspiration from someone else, but then the real crunch comes time when it's you actually do it yourself.
Right.
Like, how much time is invested in just the truck project?
Geez, a lot. Right off the cuff, it's a lot of time. But remember, that time is an amazing time. Like in that moment, I just love it. So you almost get lost in time.
Yeah.
But I guess I can equate it to maybe a 6-month, 7-month build for that, for sure.
Okay.
And then certainly the Kyosho was a bit quicker. But you're looking at probably an 8 to 9 month build between the two of them, with all the detailing and stuff.
Yeah.
Certainly not every day. Don't get me wrong. I have a life and I'm a husband and a father.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you think of it, time invested. There's a whole winter here and probably part of a fall and a spring to get this all done.
Well, it's really, really nice, and I think it was time well spent.
Thank you very much.
Part of the hobby, though, is the experience of the build, right?
Yeah,
it's not
of
so
course.
much that we just take them out to events and we want to drive them and whatever. Because if you just want to drive a truck, that's why we have RTRs, right?
Sure.
And if you want something that's personalized and then maybe even a package deal like this, then you're going to invest the time into all the detail work, and that's the hobby side.
Yeah, and as we've been going through this whole thing, it's amazing how much I enjoy the build time. Certainly going to shows and traveling is an absolute highlight in my life, and I enjoy all of that and meeting the people. But certainly 1A and 1B, another highlight is sitting in your space, whatever space that may be, in your hobby shop or hobby room, and building these. It's a special time for sure.
Yeah, I'm enjoying that myself so much.
yeah, and of course it's when you sort of get these builds and you sort of sit back after that time invested and you say, oh man, it's an accomplishment.
Yeah. Well, thanks for showing this off.
Thank you.
We do read all the comments on the YouTube videos, so if you have any questions or comments about the build, be sure to write them in down there. And if you're part of any square body Chevy forums or anything like that where you think this rig review would give some inspiration to someone else, please do share the video around. And I'll make sure Dana looks at the comments for the video and answers all your questions.
Awesome, guys.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Tiny Trucking. That's really cool.
That worked.